On a seemingly ordinary morning on June 12, 2025, tragedy struck the skies over Gujarat. Air India Flight 812, a state-of-the-art Boeing 787 Dreamliner, departed from Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad, bound for London. The aircraft was carrying 228 passengers and 14 crew members, a total of 242 souls filled with the promise of a new day. But just minutes after a smooth takeoff, something went horribly wrong. Communication with the pilots was suddenly lost. The plane vanished from radar screens, leaving a void of silence and growing fear among air traffic controllers who had just wished them a safe journey. The silence was soon broken by devastating news. The aircraft had crashed in a rural area approximately 30 kilometers northwest of the airport. The impact site was a scene of unimaginable destruction, a scar upon the landscape that mirrored the deep wound inflicted upon the nation's heart. Local villagers were the first to arrive, their initial shock turning to a desperate, though ultimately futile, attempt to help. Of the 242 people on board, there were no survivors. This catastrophic loss of life sent shockwaves not just through India, but across the entire global community, marking one of the darkest days in the nation's aviation history. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of emergency response and overwhelming grief. Families rushed to the airport in Ahmedabad and at London Heathrow, their hopes slowly turning to despair as the terrible reality became clear. The news reports painted a grim picture, with images of the wreckage dominating screens worldwide. The people on the flight were from many different countries, representing a mosaic of lives cut tragically short. They were business travelers, tourists excited for a European holiday, students returning to their universities, and families looking forward to being reunited with loved ones. Each name on the passenger list represented a unique story that had come to a sudden and heartbreaking end. As the initial shock begins to subside, it is replaced by a profound sense of mourning and a demand for answers. The Indian government has declared a period of national mourning, and flags are flying at half-mast across the country. Vigils are being held in cities from Mumbai to Delhi as people come together to light candles and share their sorrow for the victims. The airline Air India has established support centers for the grieving families, providing them with counselors and assistance during this unbearable time. The world watches and waits, sharing in the collective grief while hoping that the impending investigation will bring some measure of clarity and closure to this devastating event. In the days following the crash, the focus has shifted from rescue to recovery and investigation. The crash site is a vast and challenging environment, a sprawling field of debris that stretches for several kilometers. Hundreds of investigators and search personnel are meticulously combing the area, their work both physically and emotionally draining. They are tasked with the grim duty of recovering the victims and the critical mission of finding every piece of the shattered aircraft. The area has been secured by law enforcement and military personnel, creating a perimeter to protect the integrity of the evidence from any outside interference and to ensure the search can proceed methodically. The investigation is a massive, coordinated effort led by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, or AAIB. They are being assisted by international experts, including teams from the United States National Transportation Safety Board and Boeing, the aircraft's manufacturer. Their primary goal is to find the plane's two black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. These devices are built to withstand incredible forces and are essential for understanding what happened in the final moments of the flight. The cockpit voice recorder captures conversations in the cockpit, while the flight data recorder records thousands of parameters about the plane's performance, providing a detailed electronic history of the flight. While the black boxes are crucial, investigators have also emphasized the urgent need to locate several other specific, large components of the aircraft. Chief among these missing pieces are one of the plane's powerful engines, a significant portion of the main landing gear assembly, including the wheels, and the larger undercarriage structure that supports it all. These heavy parts seem to have separated from the main fuselage before the final impact, suggesting a possible in-flight breakup event. Search teams are using drones, helicopters, and ground-penetrating radar to scan a wider search grid, hoping to locate these vital components that may have fallen far from the primary wreckage field. The search for these specific parts is a race against time. Evidence can degrade when exposed to the elements, and the longer these pieces remain missing, the more difficult it becomes to piece together the sequence of events. The terrain is difficult, with fields and small bodies of water complicating the search efforts. Every member of the investigation team understands the weight of their task. They are not just looking for metal and machinery, they are searching for the key that will unlock the mystery of Flight 812. The answers they find will be vital for the grieving families and for ensuring the safety of future air travel. For people who are not aviation experts, it might seem strange to focus so intently on finding an engine or a set of wheels. However, these specific parts are like the most important pieces of a complex puzzle. The engine, for example, is the heart of the airplane. Investigators need to examine it to see if it suffered a catastrophic failure. They will look for signs of an internal fire, damage to the fan blades from striking an object, or evidence of an uncontained explosion, where parts of the engine burst outward through its protective casing. Finding out if the engine was working properly is a fundamental step in any crash investigation. The wheels and the undercarriage, which is the whole structure that holds the landing gear, are also incredibly important for this particular investigation. This assembly is designed to be extremely strong to handle the forces of landing. If these parts broke away from the plane while it was still high in the air, it tells investigators that something extraordinarily powerful happened. It could point to a structural failure where the airframe itself came apart, or it could be evidence of an explosive event. The location where these heavy parts are found, relative to the main crash site, can help investigators calculate the plane's trajectory and speed when the breakup occurred. Think of the investigation as a detective story. The debris field is the crime scene, and each piece of wreckage is a clue. The engine and undercarriage are like the smoking gun. By studying the fractures on the metal, the burn marks, and the way these components separated from the rest of the plane, experts can start to build a timeline of the disaster. Did a problem with the landing gear cause a fire that spread to the rest of the aircraft? Did an engine failure send high-velocity shrapnel into the wing or fuselage, compromising the plane's structure? These are the kinds of questions that can only be answered by a hands-on examination of the physical evidence. This detailed forensic work is a slow and painstaking process. Each piece of recovered wreckage will be transported to a secure hangar, where investigators will lay it out to reconstruct the aircraft as much as possible. This three-dimensional puzzle will allow them to see how the damage spread and where the failure began. Without the engine and the undercarriage, a massive and critical section of that puzzle would be missing. Finding these parts is not just a detail, it is absolutely essential to determining the root cause of the crash and preventing such a tragedy from ever happening again. As the recovery efforts continue under the public's watchful eye, a cloud of uncertainty hangs over the aviation world. The central question on everyone's mind is simple yet profound. What happened to Air India Flight 812? The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is one of the most modern and technologically advanced airliners in service, with an excellent safety record. The sudden and complete loss of such an aircraft without any distress call from the experienced flight crew is deeply troubling for investigators and the public alike. Speculation is widespread, but officials are urging caution, emphasizing that a thorough and evidence-based investigation is the only path to the truth. The families of the 242 victims are living in a state of suspended agony, waiting for answers that may provide some form of closure, however painful. They want to know what caused the crash and whether their loved ones suffered. Beyond the personal grief, these families and the public have a right to know if there was a mechanical flaw, a maintenance error, or a security breach that led to the disaster. The answers are not just for them, but for the millions of people who step onto airplanes every day, placing their trust in the safety of the system. This trust has been shaken, and it can only be restored with complete transparency. Investigators are methodically working through several potential scenarios. They are considering the possibility of a catastrophic mechanical failure, such as the engine or structural issues suggested by the missing components. They will also analyze maintenance records for the aircraft and the professional history of the flight crew. Another line of inquiry will explore environmental factors, such as a potential collision with a bird or extreme weather, though initial reports did not indicate any unusual conditions. Finally, although there is currently no evidence to support it, the possibility of a criminal act or terrorism must be thoroughly investigated and ruled out to ensure all avenues are explored. Ultimately, the hope is that the flight data and cockpit voice recorders, combined with the physical evidence from the engine and undercarriage, will tell the definitive story of Flight 812's final tragic moments. The investigation will take many months, perhaps even years, to complete. The final report will be a crucial document, one that will hopefully identify a clear cause and lead to safety recommendations that can be implemented worldwide. For now, a grieving nation waits, holding on to the hope that from the depths of this immense tragedy, lessons will be learned that will protect the lives of future travelers.